Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel and the coffee stream. And of course, it is Monday, which means it's Mobility Monday, which means it's disability time. But before we get into the stuff that I have to talk about today, I hope everyone had a good weekend. And if it snowed where you were, that you stayed warm and not snow covered. It finally snowed here and stayed on the ground. Like, I don't mind snow until Christmas. Then after Christmas, like, winter can go away. That's that's how I feel about winter. Winter's okay until like maybe New Year's Eve. Then it can fuck off. Can go away. I would be fine with there being like literally 8 official days of winter, because winter starts on what, the 22nd, the 21st, or whatever. I would be fine with 10 days of winter. I'd be okay with that short season. I don't care that it might fuck up all the like the calendar or like the growing season or whatever. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe the Earth could spin like extra fast, or not spin extra fast, but like maybe get pulled a bunch of million kilometers faster around the sun, so that winter could be like 10 days long, and then we could slow down. Like, it might really fuck us up gravitationally, but anything to do with to get rid of snow, right? That's a fine reaction, right? Like, possibly messing up the entire structure of the planet to speed it up so that winter's only 10 days long, and then slow it down again. That's fine, right? That couldn't possibly screw anything up. I don't know, it would be okay. It would be all right. We'd have like a 6-month long, or what's it called? A 4-month long spring. No, 6-month long spring. A 4-month long winter of summer, sorry. Because the seasons are supposed to be like, they're supposed to be 3 months long, right? So we'd do it 5 months at a time, and then 10 days of winter. I think that'd be okay. We could do it. Who's with me? Or then this is just a suggestion: move to a region that doesn't have seasons. Yeah, but those regions also have hurricanes. That's a problem. Like, if I were to move to, like, say, a tropical region, I'd be okay. I'd be down for that, except there are hurricanes there. Do you see the problem? That's the problem, is the hurricanes. Winter is evil, and snow is evil. I agree. Evening, Fury Kitten. I don't know. I feel like my plan is possibly very villain-like, on the verge of like a Mr. Burns level idea, but I still like it. I think it could work. I think speeding up the planet's rotation around the sun, just so that there's only 10 days of winter, and then slowing it down again, I think that sounds awesome. Sounds incredibly dangerous, but it also sounds awesome. And also scientifically impossible. But who's I can't imagine having not nearly 20-hour days in summer. Not having nearly 20-hour days in summer. I did that once, Fury. California is a shithole. Well, the best way to prepare for hurricanes is to get vaccinated, right? Ha! Mind you, the 4-hour days in winter is kind of fun, too. No, I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. I hate winter. I hate everything to do with winter. I hate the fact that you can barely feel the sun on your face, even when it's like, hi, I'm very sunny today. I'm so sunny, in fact, that I'm blinding all the sighted people with my glare on the snow. But you can't feel my warmth, because fuck you. You're on the wrong side of the planet right now. Ha 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 ha. God, I hate winter. It fucking makes me. Ugh. Anyway, let's see here. What else is happening in things that aren't what I'm talking about on the stream today? I don't know. I'm trying to not jump right into everything, and I'm trying to, talk to the audience. Jeez. So if you weren't able to catch Friday, I watched Die Hard with Pincalo. We didn't actually broadcast it because I like my Twitch channel, and Die Hard is one of those movies that you just can't get away with watching live on stream. So we did a watch party and we did a watch along, and so there were a couple of people who watched it with us. It was fun. It was fun. Speaking honestly about California is rude. I like icicles in my beard. Cold weather is what Vaseline is for. You know what, Vaseline is very useful when it comes in winter for a lot of different things, including sometimes if you don't have de-icer but you have like a little bit of Vaseline, like lip gloss or something, and your lock is frozen, you can like get your key slipped through the ice there. That helps sometimes. Oh, I hate when door locks freeze in the winter time. You're like, I just want to get inside and my key won't go into the lock because there's ice in the lock. Yay. That has happened to me way too many times. I don't like winter. Like, I enjoy doing some winter activities. Like, I like skating, but like, you can do that inside in an arena. I mean, yeah, I did learn how to skate outside on the Rideau Canal, which was pretty awesome and very, very Canadian. But as an adult, I love skating, but I just indoor rinks are just the right temperature, right? They have to be cool, obviously, because it's an ice rink. But there's no fucking wind that takes your goddamn breath away. So you can just skate pleasantly in a nice, just the right temperature place where, yeah, you're still wearing all of your snow stuff because you're skating and you're on the ice, but you're not freezing still because of the wind, and you're not dying because you're inside. Or your keys have been in your pocket, and the lock has contracted. Yep. Because the key is cold, and so the teeth have contracted. Yep. It's very annoying. You know what else is annoying? Having the back of a 70-year-old, and when you're leaning down to put a box on the floor and you cough at the same time, you throw your goddamn back out and you spend the entire weekend in excruciating pain. And you're still dealing with it today. That also is very very frustrating. I'm speaking of myself. that that happened to me. Um, it's really annoying that I can't even put down an empty box and cough at the same time without my whole lower back just going, ha ha, bitch, the fuck do you think you're doing? Like, it's the moral of the story is get someone else to do the null work. Hey lady, taste any good tree sap lately? Nah, the tree sap is not flowing right now because it's too cold. But welcome, cannibalistic wizard, welcome. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about this morning is just kind of a discussion. I woke up and in r/blind, there was a post from somebody who was asking how they would go about getting themselves a full-time live-in caregiver that is paid, and they're totally blind, or they're legally blind, and they're asking about a caregiver. They didn't give any other details about whether they had any other disabilities, anything like that. They did elaborate later down in the thread to say that they lived in Kentucky. Now, I and a few of the other people that commented on that post mentioned that if blindness was the only disability, somebody flat out told him they're not going to give you a full-time live-in caregiver if blindness is your only disability. And that's true. And nor should they, quite frankly. There are people who quite literally cannot walk, and like they are quadriplegics. They cannot walk and cannot move their arms. Those people, like my best friend works for a man who is a quadriplegic, and I don't think that his home care team lives with him. I'm pretty sure they come in shifts. So I'm not sure of it, and it could vary from state to state, as some of the other blind people in that thread mentioned. The supports vary from state to state, country to country, but a lot of them, myself included, were saying, you have you should definitely look into independent living skills training first before taking a full-time live-in care worker away from somebody else whose disability, quite frankly, is more severe. Because, like, from the able-bodied perspective, a lot of people view blindness as a very severe disability and one of the worst disabilities. Meanwhile, if you were to talk to like blind people and like I know I've been in a discussion with other blind people about this, and we're like, man, if I couldn't walk or like hear or like speak, those or like um even having like a cognitive disability, like and not being able to vocalize or understand what was around me, like these are things because we've had more experience with being blind and being exposed to those other disabilities, because unfortunately, because blindness does happen to be very usually a genetic thing, or alongside other disabilities, there are quite a few people in the blind community that have multiple disabilities. So a lot of us are exposed to other types of disability. Therefore, we're like, you know, to us, blindness isn't really that bad. But if we couldn't walk anywhere, like to us, it already sucks that we can't drive, right? But if we all of a sudden couldn't walk and at least take ourselves somewhere, like, could you imagine trying to use a cane in a wheelchair? Could you imagine trying to know where you were going using a cane in a wheelchair? Like, that would be quite a sight, I think. So for me, um legally blind, I'd just hire a butler. A full-time helper, it's called a spouse. My lower back does that all the time. I used a foam roller over it at my dad's this weekend and it made a big pop. How the fuck do you use those things? Could you imagine Helen Keller with polio? Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Ugh. So for me, it's like this guy, like if all that is wrong with you is legally blind, I'm sorry, but get off your lazy ass and go to a training center. Like, in my comment, I said you live in a country that has some of the best access to training centers. Like, go take advantage of that. I'm pretty sure there's even one in Kentucky. Like, there are so many training centers specifically for the blind, and you don't have to be a blind kid to go. Like, it's one of the things that I hate about like some of the stuff in Canada is, and if you get a CNIB worker to be honest with you off the record, they will tell you that the CNIB services are not as good as they seem on the outside. Like, some of them are, some of them aren't. And it really depends on the provider of that service at the local level that makes it whether it's good or bad, not how the organization itself structures that service, which sucks because it should be both. Do you know what I mean? It should be that the service provider at the local level is a good instructor, and it should also be that all across the board, funding wise, supervision wise, everything wise, that it's all the same consistency. And it's not. And the fact that there is only one employment services program for blind people, and it is through the CNIB, and it sucks. It really does suck that there's, like, I've heard this from the mouth of a staff member that has begged me not to name her name, so I will not. And in the States, there are so many different employment organizations for blind people. That's why, even though the employment rate among the blind community still sucks, if you look at the employment rate in Canada for blind people versus the employment rate in the States for blind people, even totally blind people, it is so much higher because there are so many more organizations that focus on employment opportunities for the blind. Now that remote work is actually becoming a thing, there are actual company like legit like corporations that are hiring blind people and they're working from home. I had a friend who worked for Wells Fargo. I these are not just like shitty, you know, overseas companies that are scams. But that's not happening up here. Oh, okay, Brandon. Pool, but imagine a pool noodle but thick. Oh, gotcha. Um, so it's like I'm just sitting here going, why would you not go to like all you would need to do is go to an independent living skills course for like 3 weeks and learn how to cook, learn how to do your laundry, learn how to clean your house, learn how to like just learn some new skills. Like, and it's not embarrassing. Like, fuck, like I'm still learning how to do shit. I don't know everything. Like it's so frustrating. But I don't think like if legally blind is your only issue, I would say no to that live-in worker. Go get some independent living skills training. Go get some orientation and mobility training. Come on. Okay, let's go to our articles. Oh my god. Skip for now. Okay. I sent a link. Yes, I did. So, we have 3 articles that we're going to look at today. Which one should I start with? Okay, we're going to start with the disabled astronaut story. Because I covered that the European Space Agency last week was what was I going to say? That the European Space Agency is trying to figure out how to have disabled astronauts in space. So, we're going to look at this article that talks about a zero gravity flight involving some disabled astronauts. Okay. Oh, and I shared the wrong window. I shared the wrong window as I'm an idiot. Okay. Let's share the correct window. That's better. Okay. All right. So this is a Daily Mail article. Disabled astronauts complete a zero gravity flight 25,000 feet above Earth. That's pretty cool. So this is from the Daily Mail. Disabled astronauts in training completed a zero-G flight 25,000 feet above Earth. That's pretty awesome. Those part of the 14-member crew have mobility, vision, and hearing difficulties. Okay, so that's cool. They've got some visually impaired people up there. That's pretty awesome. That is really cool. Didn't Stephen Hawking do a parabolic flight? I don't know. Speaking of independence, my friend just had a fire in his building. He was completely unprepared. All he could do is run in the hall and scream in panic. He didn't know how to exit the building without the elevator. I was on voice with him. He didn't even know that the loud, piercing sound was a fire alarm. He also has a dog. I had to remind him to get the dog. Oh my god. Holy fuck. I remember living in an apartment building. I knew exactly where the stairs were at both ends because there were stairs at both ends of both hallways. Because in the middle was an elevator, or was three elevators, and then you could either turn left or turn right, and there were apartments down each hallway that way. And at the end of each hallway, there were stairs. I knew both flights of stairs. I knew, like, and we lived high up, but I knew where those damn stairs were just in case. When we lived in a walk up building, I knew that, even, like, if I absolutely had to, if there was a fire, we had like a back porch type thing that was high off. Like, I probably would end up with like a broken ankle or something, but I could make it, right? Like, like, you have to know these things as a blind person. Like, you have to. You can't just go through life not knowing that shit. Okay, so the groundbreaking zero-G aircraft took off from Houston, Texas on Thursday. The team researched how accessible space vessels and space are on board. Disabled astronauts in training. Oh, sorry. It just. Okay. The crew of 14 who have mobility, vision, and hearing difficulties experienced weightlessness and carried out a number of tests to see what could be done to improve accessibility. That's pretty cool. The group, who were from 5 different countries, including Australia, Brazil, Germany, Spain, and the US, was made up of scientists, engineers, and doctors. That is so fucking awesome. Like, I know, like, last week I was talking about different things that we need to see, like, how it would work in space. Like, um, how would a deaf person communicate when you can't use sign language all the time, like on a spacewalk, for example. Stuff like that. And because I want disabled astronauts in space. Like, I don't think this is just like um a token thing, right? Like, I feel like it's a little bit different when it comes to, like that whole, oh, we're the first female astronauts to go on a spacewalk by ourselves. Like, that's like, so what? So what? Who cares? You're astronauts. That's like, you have a vagina. Who cares? That doesn't matter. Women have been on spacewalks before. Like, why do you need to celebrate that the men didn't go with you? That's stupid, right? But this is different. It doesn't feel like a token thing. It feels like, because there are, like, disabled people have a lot of potential to provide a lot of ideas, a lot of innovation, because we have to adapt. We have to figure out how to do things differently. And that can be put to use in a lot of different applications. So, I absolutely do believe that we could have disabled astronauts in space. I don't think that is a silly idea. I don't think that is a token type of thing. I think that we just need to figure out how to do it safely. 14 floors and 2 cats. Yeah. Exactly. The groundbreaking trip organized by Astro Access happened on a zero-G aircraft in Houston, Texas on Thursday. That's pretty awesome. Who was aboard the Astro Access flight? There were 14 crew members aboard the Astro Access zero-G flight on Thursday who helped carry out different types of research into how space travel could be made more accessible for those who are disabled. The crew members on board were Lindsay Azzaluno, Lucas Rodili, Dana Lambert, Dr. Carlos Arquilocuddy, Victorio Garcia, Sheila Shu, Dr. K. Renee Horton, Jose Luis B. Augusto, Menchi Bentos, Dwayne Fernandez, John Deacon, Keely Looney, Dr. Sherry Waz Johnson, Eric Ingram, Eric Shear, Mary Cooper. It comes just weeks after the European Space Agency ESA announced the former Paralympic runner John McFall would be part of the 2022 ESA astronaut class. The mission took off and landed at Ellington Airport, adjacent to the NASA or Houston Spaceport and the NASA Johnson Space Center, home to the U.S. human space flight training. The AA-2 was the first full charter formal research dedicated promote disability inclusion in space. On ascending to an altitude of 25,000 feet, the vehicle began 18 parabolic maneuvers, allowing the crews to test out what was needed to make trips to space more accessible for people with disabilities. That is so cool. Like, okay, oh, cool, they're going to tell us what they tested. Okay, one group tested a set of tactile graphics to be added to cabinet walls that would allow both blind crew members and short-sighted crew members to stay oriented during emergencies and help them find emergency gear in zero gravity if the lights go off. Those working with the blind and mobility crew were able to demonstrate that a disabled person can independently get into a launch seat and safely fasten the 5-point seat harness, proving that disabled people can safely fly aboard suborbital space missions. Okay. The hard of hearing and blind crews worked with Sony and Sonic Cloud to help improve speech understanding systems on board using Sonic Cloud innovative sound personalization software. That's hard to say. Which allows the user to tailor the audio to their hearing ability with Sony headphones. Okay, so if you have hearing issues, you could probably turn up the sound, maybe fiddle around with the treble and the bass. If you had really sensitive hearing, maybe you could turn down the treble a bit so it doesn't, blast out the high register of your eardrums. And you could keep that setting for yourself with your specific headphones. That's it. That's interesting, and that could help too. For depending on, like, if you're using audio to not only speak but to receive feedback from the onboard computer regarding your data or what you're researching or what you're studying. That's very helpful as well. And also, I've heard there was a blind astrophysicist. I believe she was able to turn her data into, like, the same types of sound that when NASA captures the radiation from planets and stars, that they kind of translate that into sound. She was sort of able to do this a similar thing with her star charts. So I'm wondering if that technology has been included in this sound, like SonoCloud type of technology, so that a blind person could hear a star map and you could tune in that frequency to like your personalized audio settings. And that, I like, that would be so cool. I am nerding out here. We need women in space to make space sandwich. Hi, Jordan. A blind astronaut. I would love to be a blind astronaut. Plus, for long-term space travels and low G environment colonies, we need that information. Plus, physiological studies may lead to some good treatment breakthroughs. Exactly, Fury. Like, we need we like, we could come up with a really good cure for something if we study things like, if we, like, bring disabled people into space. Deaf members of the crew looked into the ease of using American Sign Language, ASL, in zero gravity. Previously, the group had looked into ASL on the Aurelia Institute Horizon flight early this year, and is part of a scuba diving expedition at the University of Arizona's Biosphere Biosphere 2 in Tucson, Arizona last month. Anna Volker, the executive director of Astro Access, said, while there is still work to be done to make space accessible for everyone, the success of this historic parabolic flight and ESA's selection of John McFall shows strong movement in the right direction. I agree. I agree. I really think that this is an untapped group of people that has a lot of potential that can be utilized. The flight was sponsored by George Whitesides, the co-founder of Astro Access, and Len Taylor, the space entrepreneur. That's really freaking cool. I think that's pretty awesome. That we're finally realizing that disabled people, while our bodies may not be working fully the way they normally do, it's people that have a lot to provide. This type of thing has the potential to help everyone on the crew, not just its disabled members. Exactly. Exactly. I totally agree, Brandon. It's This has a lot of benefit, not just for disabled people, but as Brandon said, for everyone. Say there's an emergency and nobody can see anything. You know, now we have these accessible options. Or, you know, say everyone on the crew now has to at least learn basic ASL, and then, you know, something happens and now we don't have a way to vocalize, but we can still sign. Like the it's it's very cool, and it's very, very awesome that this is happening, and that it's not being looked at as, oh, this is just some token, you know, just to check another SJW box. Because unfortunately, because of all of the SJW tokenism that's been happening, that is a valid criticism sometimes. But a lot of times with new ideas lately, people seem to just be, shutting things down by, oh, that's just a stupid, insert label argument, if that makes sense. And I just don't like it. Okay, we are now going to read about a school for the disabled, if you could believe it. We're going to read about a school for the disabled in Illinois. This is from ProPublica. The school that calls the police on students every other day. Okay. On the last street before leaving Jacksonville, there's a dark brick one-story building that the locals know as the School for, quote, Bad Kids. It's actually a tiny public school for children with disabilities. It sits across the street from farmland and is 2 miles from the Illinois City's police department, which makes for a short trip when the school calls 911. Administrators, hold on. Administrators at the Garrison School call the police to report student misbehavior every other school day. On average, and because staff members regularly press charges against the children, some as young as 9, officers have arrested students more than 100 times in the last 5 school years. An investigation by the Chicago Tribune and ProPublica found that is an astounding number, given that Garrison, the only school that is part of the Four Rivers Special Education District, has fewer than 65 students in most years. Holy shit! Do these people not have proper training on how to deal with severely disabled children? Like, are these just regular teachers that have no, like, early childhood education, intervention, education, or have no, hey, selected boy. Um, so, like, Is there no specialized training for these people? Because if you're dealing with severely autistic children, you need specialized training in the field of autism. If like it would be like having a regular educational assistant try to teach me Braille. Like it no, it wouldn't work. Like they had to make sure that I was provided with a specialized teacher that knew Braille. Like just because they read it with their eyes doesn't mean that I didn't learn it with my fingers. Like you can't just hire regular teachers and expect them to be able to handle children with severe physical and intellectual disabilities. Because of course this stuff's going to start happening. Of course, like if it's a regular teacher who doesn't know what else to do, of course they're going to call the police. Because they're going to feel afraid for themselves. And they're going to feel afraid for the kids' safety. No other school district, not just in Illinois, but in the entire country, had a higher student arrest rate than Four Rivers. The last time data was collected nationwide, the school year 2018, more than half of Garrison students were arrested. Good God. That is crazy. Officers typically handcuff students and take them to the police station where they are fingerprinted, photographed, and placed in a holding room for at least a decade. The local newspaper has included the arrests in its daily police blotter for all to see. Wow. And some of these kids, it said, were as young as 9. Like, it is not like they're, 29 and fucking up. Like, this is insane. Like, Jordan, it says, to me, it says that they have no training and that their teaching is inadequate. Yeah. If my autistic nephew was ever arrested at school, I'd be fucking livid. I hear you, Brandon. I feel you. The students enrolled each year at Garrison have severe emotional or behavioral disabilities that kept them from succeeding at previous schools. Some also have been diagnosed with autism, ADHD, or other disorders. Many have experienced horrifying trauma, including sexual abuse, the death of a parent, and incarceration of a family members, according to interviews with family and schools and school employees. Getting arrested for behavior at school is not inevitable for students with such challenges. There are about 60 other public special there are about 60 similar public special education schools across Illinois, but none of them comes anywhere near to Garrison in the number of arrests the investigation found. Why though? Why this school? Why are the teachers at this school not doing their jobs? I don't understand. I I I don't get it. So let's see here. It is just backwards. If you are sending kids to a therapy day school and then locking them up, that is not what therapy day schools are for, said Jessica Dingo, an attorney in the special education clinic at Equip for Equality, the state's federal agency appointed watchdog for people with disabilities. If the school is as free on people who need support, to think of them as delinquents is the worst you could do. It's counterproductive to what you should do, Dingold said. Yeah, here, come to this school for people who have issues. Oh, you're not listening to me? Well, you're going to jail now. What? What? Okay. Because of the difficulty the students face in regulating their emotions, these specialized schools are tasked with realizing what triggers the behavior. Yeah, that makes sense. Teaching calming strategies and reinforcing good behavior, but Garrison doesn't even offer that type of help that many students even have. Really? So the curriculum where it's like teaching you how to recognize and regulate your emotions, which quite frankly, I think should be taught to everybody, not just people with severe emotional disabilities or behavior issues. Like, I think everyone in especially high school should learn how their emotions affect themselves, affect like how they react, their reactions to their emotions outwardly affect other people around them, how to recognize the negative impacts of their emotions on themselves and how to stop it. Like, we need emotional intelligence courses in school. That's like putting all the sick people in one place and wondering why you've made a plague. Mm, so what normal teacher thinks that it's appropriate to arrest them when they're as young as 9? I don't agree. I That's a good question. But the only people I can think of that might even go there as like a last resort, like, or like maybe the meltdown is really, really frightening, because sometimes meltdowns can be. And if you don't know how to deal with it, maybe like you don't know what else to do and you call the police. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying, maybe there are some instances where they just get desperate. But you, at the same time, have to not really, considering that I have seen videos and reports of are as young as 4 being arrested in some states. Yeah, it's yeah, yep. The kid up the street. Yep. It's just some people just they don't know how to deal with an autism meltdown. Like, even parents of autistic kids sometimes just don't know how to deal with it. It's it sucks. Tracy Fair, director of the Four Rivers Special Education District, said it is the only public school in this part of the central Illinois For students with severe behavioral disabilities, and there are few options for private placement schools, workers deal with challenging behavior from Garrison students every day, she said. So, there are consequences to their behavior, and this behavior would not be tolerated anywhere else in the community, Fair said, in written answer to reporters' questions. Fair, who has overseen Four Rivers since July 2020, said Garrison administrators call police only when students are being physically aggressive or in response to 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 quote ongoing behavior. But records detail multiple instances when staff called police because students were being disobedient, spraying water, punching a desk, or damaging a filing cabinet, for example. That's a power trip. Hell, remember that one kid last summer who was literally dragging his mother through the park by her hair? Oh, yeah. Now I've met that kid's dad, and that dad looks like he's worn out and has no idea what to do. Yeah. Yeah. Like our kid's got pretty bad ADHD, but at least that's it. Like his brain just goes way too fast for him. That's it. Like he doesn't have any other behavioral issues. And the little one's just pushing boundaries. See what he can get away with. The students were still not calming down, so the police arrested them, said Fares, speaking on behalf of the school. Of course they weren't calming down. You fucking called the police. What do you expect? Oh my god. Like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, here, I know. You're freaking out and melting down. I'm gonna call somebody that looks really freaky and scary with their gun and handcuffs and nightstick and all that shit and come and talk to you. That'll work. I used to have the same thing with my mom when she would get my sister would get in trouble, right? And but my mom would amp up and get my sister to the point of being hysterical because she would be screaming at her and shit. And then my mom would be like, "Why are you crying? Stop crying!" And I'm like, "Well, maybe if you weren't right in her face and screaming at her like an insane person, she wouldn't be crying so much, and you might be able to get her to listen to you." You know, maybe if you would just took a minute and calmed the fuck down, she would stop crying. This is the same thing. It's like, why are you melting down more that the police are here arresting you? I don't get it. Well, Hi, Keith. This sounds more like a school at a youth correctional facility. Yeah, it does. It really does. Um, let's see. This year, the Tribune and ProPublica have been exposing the consequences for students when their schools use police as disciplinarians. The investigation, The Price Kids Pay, uncovered the practice of Illinois schools who work with local law enforcement to ticket kids who disobey in school. The investigation has uncovered nearly 12,000 such tickets. And since then, the state has quickly denounced the practice. I bet. This latest investigation further reveals the harm to children when students educate children or discipline of children to the police. They miss time in the class. Arrested students miss time in the classroom and get entangled in the justice system. They come to view adults as hostile and school as prison-like, a place where they are constantly confined to classrooms due to lockdown because of police presence. Yeah, because every time the cops come to arrest somebody, you have to fucking lock the school down. Well, they think they're going to head to jail since the police were called, so of course if somebody's going to panic. Of course, yeah. Like, even if they put them in cuffs just to calm them down, like, that's not going to calm them down. I wouldn't calm down if I was put in handcuffs like that. Like, if I was already upset and somebody came and was like, here, I'm going to cuff your hands behind your back, like, I would lose my shit. That is not how you calm someone down. U.S. Department of Education officials and Illinois officials have reminded educators in recent months that if school officials fail to consider whether if a school official fails to consider whether a student's behavior is a reflection of their disability, they will be in afoul of federal law. Good. But unlike some other states, Illinois does not require schools to report student arrest data to the state. Oh. Or direct its education department to monitor police involvement in school incidents. That's not okay. That's disconcerting a lot. There was a kid in my class that was regularly violent with teachers and students. His home life was abhorrent. What is the home life for these kids? That's another question. Because a lot of kids with severe disabilities, their families are not happy. Like, a lot of time the families are stressed. Sometimes one of the parents will leave because they can't handle it. And then the other parent is left being a single parent of sometimes not just the disabled child, but of another child who is not disabled. And then they have to try to balance doing things for the regular child or the other child that's not disabled, and making sure things are done properly for the disabled kid. And it's hard. It's stressful. In response to questions from reporters about Garrison, Illinois Superintendent of Education Carl Manalo said that the frequent arrests were concerning, and that the superintendent sent a board official out to see whether the claims are superficial. Wow. The team confirmed an over-reliance on police, and as a result, the state will provide more training and other professional development. It is not illegal to call the police, but there are tactics and strategies to use to keep it from getting to that point. That is a severe understatement. Over-reliance on police? Every other goddamn day, you guys were arresting disabled kids, and you're gonna just call that a simple over-reliance on police? How about you call it what it is, and you call it a failure of the people that they're supposed to be helping? How about that? How about you actually call it what it is? Instead of, oh, it was an you know what an over-reliance on police is? Like, if you have to call them out like once or twice every couple of weeks still. Because you're not handling meltdowns well. Once or twice a month is still way too often for a 65 student school. Okay? Every other day, that is not an over-reliance on the police. That is, come do my job for me, police. Because I can't even be bothered to fucking do my own reading on the weekend. Gee, these students really don't seem to be reacting well to me. What could I be doing differently? No, none of that shit. None of that shit. It's just call the cops. If I was that superintendent, I knew, like, if the pool of specially educated disabled teachers wasn't so small, I would fire every person in that company or in that school and find new teachers. If I didn't know how scarce specialized teachers like that were. Because clearly this isn't just a lack of training. This is a lack of actual empathy and wanting to do the work. Because you can't tell me, as somebody who has gone to school to work with disabled kids, doesn't know how to de-escalate at least some of the time. And you're calling the cops every other damn day? Like, you're not even trying to de-escalate meltdowns or even recognize. I bet you half of these actually, no, I would bet about 85% of these calls could be avoided if these people even knew what a meltdown trigger looked like and could avoid it or redirect it. Like, this is, I don't even know if these people can be retrained, because they don't seem like the people who actually care enough to be retrained. I would almost go to whatever university is around there and look at the last year students of early childhood education, figure out which ones wanted to work with the disabled kids, and be like, would you like some crash course work? Because I've got a school for you that needs help. You know what I mean? Like, this is a crisis, because there are so many kids that need help and so little teachers to help them, and even less that are good and that actually care. And it's very sad, and it's very scary. And it makes me worry for not just these kids, but you know, for my kids, for other kids, it's a frightening it's frightening right now. This is a weird time to be alive because it's frightening time to be alive, but it's also a cool time to be alive, and it's a very strange sensation. Well, my friends, I need to get up and stretch and crack out my back because it's mad at me for sitting here in this chair because I forgot a pillow to put behind my back. So I would like to thank you all for watching me today. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I will be back tomorrow morning on Twitch for Beat the Blind Girl at 10 a.m. And I hope you will join me for that. And of course, we'll have What the Fuck Wednesday on Wednesday at noon. So I'll see you all for those things then. Have a fantabulous Monday and stay safe, dry, and warm. Goodbye, everyone.